Hi, I am Sivaya, lecturer in physics, working on the Vignan institutions. In our day-to-day life, communication plays a very important role. The modern devices like radio and the cell phones are involving in the communication process. In that radios or cell phones, mainly the information is transferring from one place to the another place by using the electromagnetic waves. That's why the electromagnetic waves plays a vital role in the field of communications. So in this lesson, I am going to explain the scientists who involved in the invention of these electromagnetic waves and how to produce these EMF waves, what are the properties of the EM waves. Okay, now in the today's session, just we are going to discuss about the displacement current and the Maxwell equations. Let us see the screen. Here there are photographs of two scientists. Have you identified them? So the first one is the photograph of the Maxwell. The second one is the photograph of the Hertz. The Maxwell first predicted the existence of the electromagnetic waves, whereas the Hertz first demonstrated and produced the electromagnetic waves experimentally in the laboratory. Okay, now come to the contents of the today's session. The displacement current and the Maxwell equations. Okay, now come to the introduction of the electromagnetic waves. In the electrostatics, we studied that a stationary charge produces electric field. Because the charge is stationary, the field is also stationary. That field is called as the static electric field. Now in the lesson current electricity, we studied the Oersted experiment, and Oersted demonstrated that an electric current produces magnetic field. Here the electric current involves the motion of the charges with a uniform speed. So an electric current produces magnetic field. That means uniformly moving charges produces magnetic field. In the lesson electromagnetic induction, so Faraday demonstrated that the magnetic flux changing with the time produces an induced EMF. Magnetic flux changing with the time produces an induced EMF. And this can also be stated as the changing magnetic field produces electric field. See, this is the important point. Changing magnetic field produces electric field. That means whenever the magnetic field is changing with the time, electric field is produced. Now a question arises. If suppose changing magnetic field produces electric field, can the change in the electric field produces magnetic field? Can changing electric field produce magnetic field? Question was arised. Now for that question, our scientist Maxwell sounded the answer as yes, and he predicted that the change in the electric field produce magnetic field. Change in the electric field produce magnetic field, and from that he predicted that whenever the electric field is changing with time, whenever the electric field change with the time, it produces magnetic field, and whenever magnetic field change with the time, it produces electric field. So from that he predicted that electric field and magnetic field regenerate themselves and they are propagating in the form of the electromagnetic wave in the space. Okay, now Maxwell predicted the existence of electromagnetic waves. After that, the scientist Hertz experimentally demonstrated the existence of electromagnetic waves. In the laboratory, he produced the electromagnetic waves of long wavelength. He produced the electromagnetic waves of long wavelength. After 6-7 years, the scientist Jagadish Chandra Bose, who is our Indian, so he succeeded in production of the electromagnetic waves of short wavelength, whose wavelengths are ranging from 28 millimeter to 5 millimeter. This was a great achievement in the production of the electromagnetic waves of the shorter wavelength. Parallel to the Jagadish Chandra Bose, the another scientist Marconi followed the work done by the Maxwell, followed the work done by the Hertz, and he was succeeded in the transmission of electromagnetic waves over a long distance of many more kilometers. So from that, see here, he invented the famous device radio. He used the transmitter, and by means of the transmitter, he sends the electromagnetic waves into the space. The electromagnetic waves are traveling in the space for long distance. After that, the signals are received by the another antenna, and the received signals are received in the receiver. So the Marconi invented the radio by using the electromagnetic waves produced by the Hertz and the Jagadish Chandra Bose. Nowadays, we are enjoying the radio communication, cell phone communication, TV transmission, etc., only because of the electromagnetic waves. So before the invention of the electromagnetic waves, the scientist Maxwell, the scientist Hertz, the Jagadish Chandra Bose, and Marconi are involved. Here, come to the displacement current. What is the need of the displacement current? Now, let us assume that there are two metal plates separated by some distance, and this arrangement is nothing but a capacitor in which the air is the medium between the two plates. Now, this capacitor is connected to a battery such that one plate is connected to the positive terminal, one plate is connected to the negative terminal. Then the capacitor starts charging. So that let us consider a parallel plate capacitor being charged by means of a battery. Let it be the battery. During the charging process, already we know that the charge on one plate increases gradually in the positive sense, whereas the charge on the second plate increases with the negative sense like this. In this case, the charges are flowing in the circuit, and the current flowing through the wire constitute a current, let it be I. Let it be I. That means during the charging of the capacitor, the charges are flowing from the battery to the capacitor plates, they constitute current. Let I is the current passing through the circuit due to the battery. And already in the current electricity we studied that the current I is equal to dq by dt. Okay. Now, here due to the current passing through the wire, we know that some magnetic field is produced around the current carrying wire. Now we want to determine the magnetic field produced at a point P nearer to the wire, above the wire. To determine the magnetic field at that point, so Maxwell used the Ampere's law. What is the Ampere's law? The closed path integral B bar dot dl bar is equal to mu naught I. Okay, no? The line integral of the magnetic induction over a closed path is equal to mu naught times the current passing through the closed path. So to use this Ampere's law, let us consider a closed path in the form of a circle like this, which is passing through the point P. Now at that point P, let us consider a small element of length dl. Let us consider a small element of length dl, and that element is always along the tangent direction to the circle drawn at that point. And the current produces the magnetic field, which is also perpendicular to the loop assumed. That's why the B bar and DL bar are parallel to one another. Now, by taking the dot product of that B bar and DL bar, we have closed path integral B DL cos 0 is equal to B DL cos 0 is equal to closed path integral B DL. Here, each and every point of the assumed loop is at same distance from the wire. That's why the magnetic induction B remains the same at each and every point of the assumed loop that can be taken out of the integration, so that we can write it as B into closed path integral dl. This is equal to B into L. This is equal to, here what is L? L is the length of the closed path, which is in the form of the circle. If suppose D is the distance of the point, then the length of the closed path is equal to 2 pi d. That's why we can write it as B into 2 pi d. From the Ampere's circuit law, we can write it as integral B bar dot DL bar is equal to mu naught I. That's why we can write it as B into 2 pi d is equal to mu naught times the net current passing through the closed path. Here, what is the current passing through the closed path? So this is the closed path. This wire is passing through the closed path. That's why at this point the current is passing through the closed path, and that current is equal to I. So this is equal to mu naught I. From this we have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi d. So which is nothing but the magnetic field induction produced by the current carrying wire at a distance d by taking the loop as shown in the diagram. Okay? After that, Maxwell also derived the equation for the magnetic induction by assuming the loop in the other shape. See the second possible case. Now here, see the closed loop is taken in the form of the shape as shown in the diagram. It is just like your tiffin box without lid. So the mouth is open and all sides are closed, such that here the bottom of the vessel is passing through the space between the two plates, and the wire is passing through the mouth of the vessel, such that nowhere the wire touches the surface. Nowhere the wire touches the surface. Again, by taking the surface in the shape, we want to determine the distance, we want to determine the magnetic induction at the same distance d from the given wire. Here also we can apply the Ampere's circuit law. From that we can write it as closed path integral B bar dot DL bar is equal to mu naught I. So here also, if we calculate the value of the left hand side of the equation, we get the same as B into 2 pi d, similar to the previous case. This is equal to mu naught times. Here what is I? I is the current passing through the closed path what we assumed. Whenever we are taking the closed path as shown in the diagram, nowhere the wire touches the surface, or nowhere the wire is passing through the surface of the closed path. That's why we can simply say that the current passing through that assumed closed path is equal to 0. From this we can write B is equal to 0. So we assume the closed path in two different shapes. In the first shape we have B is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 pi d, whereas in the second case, whenever the shape is assumed like this, we are getting B is equal to 0. So for the two shapes we are getting the two different results. That's why there is some inconsistency in the Ampere's circuital law. There is some inconsistency in the Ampere's circuital law. Now, the scientist Maxwell thought about the inconsistency of this Ampere circuital law. Okay? So, to make it correct, he used the new concept of the displacement current. Okay? Now, here, when the plates are connected to the battery, we know that the capacitor is charging. During the charging, we know that positive charges are accumulated onto one plate and negative charges are accumulated onto the other plate. Whenever there are positive charges on one plate and negative charges on the another plate, we know that electric field is created between the two plates like this. Electric field is created between the two plates. Now, this electric field is normal to the surface of the plates, and this is also normal to the surface what we assumed in the second case. Okay? Now, during of the either charging of the capacitor or discharging of the capacitor, what happened? The charges present on the plates may gradually increase or may gradually decrease. Whenever the magnitude of the charge changes, automatically electric field also changes. That means when Q changes, the intensity of the electric field E also changes. The intensity of the electric field E also changes. Now here the Maxwell predicted that whenever the electric field changes with time, in the space, then there exists a current, and that current is called as the displacement current ID. That current is called as the displacement current ID. See, here the current is passing through the circuit. This current is called as the circuital current. Circuital current or conduction current, which is passing through the wire due to the flow of the charges in the wire. Whereas what about the displacement current? In the space, in the vacuum, due to the change in the electric field value, some current is passing through the space, and that current is called as the displacement current. That current is called as the displacement current. That means here he assumed that some current is passing through the space. And whenever the current is passing, automatically we know that according to the Eisenstein experiment, it produces magnetic field. That's why the electric field changing with the time produces displacement current, and the displacement current produces the magnetic field. And finally he concluded that the electric field which changes with the time produces the magnetic field. Okay? So the change in the electric field produces displacement current, and the displacement current itself produces the magnetic field. Right? Now, I am going to derive the equation for the displacement current passing through the space between the two plates. For that, let us assume that Q is the charge present on the plates. Q is the charge present on the plates. Let us assume that A is the area of the surface of the plates. Okay, for these plates, A is the surface area. By knowing the total charge and the total surface area, we can determine the charge density on the plates. So the surface charge density is given by sigma is equal to the total charge Q divided by the total area E. The surface charge density is equal to the total charge divided by the total surface area. Now by knowing the surface charge density on plate, we can determine the intensity of the electric field between the two plates of the parallel plate capacitor. We know that if suppose there is a single plate on which positive charge is distributed, the intensity of the electric field is given by the formula E is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught, which is directed away from the plate like this. Similarly, the charge present on the second plate also produces the electric field, and that field is directed towards the negatively charged plate like this. So because of that, this one produces the electric field away from the plate like this, this one produces the electric field towards the plate like this. As a result of that, electric field is produced in between the two plates, which is given by the formula E is equal to E1 plus E2, that is equal to sigma by epsilon naught. Already we know that sigma is equal to Q by A, so that we can write it as Q by A epsilon naught. This is the intensity of electric field. Already we studied about the electric flux and magnetic flux passing through the given surface area. We know that the electric flux passing through the given area can be calculated by using the formula phi is equal to EA cos theta. Here E is the intensity of the electric field, A is the area of the surface, and theta is the angle between the intensity vector and area vector. Here the area vector is perpendicular to the surface like this, and the intensity vector is also perpendicular to the surface like this, so that the area vector and the intensity vector are parallel to one another. In this case, theta is equal to 0 degrees. When theta is equal to 0, then cos theta is equal to 1. So that the electric flux is given by phi E is equal to EA. Phi E is equal to EA. Already we know that the intensity of the electric field E is equal to Q by A epsilon naught. By substituting, it becomes phi E is equal to Q by A epsilon naught into A. A gets cancelled, and we have phi E is equal to Q by epsilon naught. If suppose we differentiate this equation with respect to the time, it gives d phi E divided by dt is equal to 1 by epsilon naught into dq by dt. 1 by epsilon naught into dq by dt. What is this dq by dt? dq by dt is nothing but the rate of flow of charge. Actually, is there any rate of flow of charge? Whenever we are studying the space between the two plates of the parallel plate capacitor, only the electric field is changing, but the charge is not flowing, or it is not displacing from one plate to the another plate. That's why even though there is no flow of the charges, due to the change of the electric field, some current is passing. During the charging process or during the discharging process, the Q value changes. Whenever Q value changes, dq by dt value also changes. Whenever the dq by dt value changes, now some current is passing through the space between the two plates, and that current is called as the displacement current, which is equal to dq by dt. Now, by substituting ID is equal to dq by dt in this equation, we can write it as d phi e divided by dt is equal to 1 by epsilon naught into ID. Okay, here ID is nothing but the displacement current passing through the space between the two plates, even though the charge is not really flowing from one plate to the another plate. So here in this circuit we study two types of the currents. One is the conduction current or the circuital current, which is flowing due to the flow of the charges in the wire. The second one is the displacement current, which is passing through the space between the two plates due to the change in the electric field value with time. Okay, now this new current introduced by the Maxwell is named as the displacement current ID, so that the change in the electric field produces displacement current value, and that displacement current value is given by ID is equal to epsilon naught d phi e divided by dt. By taking this epsilon naught to this side, it becomes ID is equal to epsilon naught d phi e divided by dt. So from this we conclude that whenever the electric field changes with time, the displacement current produces, whenever the displacement current is produced, it produces the magnetic field value. So finally we conclude that the displacement current produces the magnetic field. The displacement current produces the magnetic field, right? So this displacement current is nothing but the current produced due to the change in the electric field. So finally we can conclude that the electric field which is changing with time in the space produces magnetic field, which was the very important prediction made by the scientist Maxwell. Before the Maxwell, Faraday demonstrated that the change in the magnetic field produces electric field, whereas the Maxwell predicted the displacement current. From that he proposed that the electric field which is changing with the time in the space produces magnetic field. Now when you see this circuit, there is the circuital current or the conduction current IC, and there is a displacement current ID. That's why the total current passing through the circuit is equal to IC plus ID. See the diagram carefully, where IC is flowing and ID is flowing. IC is flowing in the conducting wire, whereas ID is flowing in the space between the two plates. These two are having two different senses, so observe it carefully. So that the current, the total current in the circuit is given by I is equal to IC plus ID. Outside the capacitor, that means within the conducting wires, there is only conduction current. Inside the capacitor, that means in the space between the two plates, there is only displacement current. Okay? By taking these two currents into the consideration, the Ampere's circuital law is modified by the scientist Maxwell. Okay? The Ampere's circuital law is modified as integral B bar dot dl bar over a closed path is equal to mu naught times IC plus ID. By substituting ID value, we have closed path integral B bar dot dl bar is equal to mu naught times IC plus epsilon naught d phi e divided by dt. This new law is also called as the Ampere-Maxwell law. Ampere-Maxwell. Okay, so if the displacement current is not taken into the consideration, there is inconsistency in the Ampere's law. Whenever the displacement current is taken into the consideration, that inconsistency overcome and the problems can be simplified without any mistakes in the answers. Now come to the Maxwell equations. Maxwell equations. So Maxwell formulated set of four equations. Maxwell formulated set of four equations, and that four equations are involving electric field, magnetic field, source of electric field and magnetic field, the charge and the current density value. So these parameters are involving in the equations formulated by the scientist Maxwell, and these four equations are called as Maxwell equations. Now we are going to study the Maxwell four equations. That one more thing is, just he formulated the set of the four equations, but that four equations were not discovered by the scientist Maxwell. Okay, no? The four equations were not discovered by the scientist Maxwell, but he worked on the four fundamental equations to study about the electromagnetism. And Maxwell showed that the four fundamental equations along with the Lorentz force formula can explain each and everything in the electromagnetism. That's why to explain any basic law in the electromagnetism, just the Maxwell's four equations and the Lorentz force formula are sufficient. Now we are going to study in detail about the Maxwell four equations. Okay, in that first come to the Maxwell first equation, that is the Gauss law of electrostatics. So you studied this Gauss law of electrostatics in the lesson charges and fields. What is the Gauss law of electrostatics? Let us recall that law. The total electrical flux passing through a closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed by the closed surface. 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed by the closed surface. For that, suppose let us assume a closed surface. The closed surface may be in the form of a box, in the form of a sphere, or in the form of a cylinder. Now, if suppose the surface contains distribution of the charges like this. Now, due to the charges present in the space, electric field is produced, and due to that electric field, electric lines of force can be represented. The number of the electric lines of force passing through the given area is defined as the electric flux. Now, according to the Gauss law of electrostatics, the electrical flux passing through this closed surface, the electric flux passing through this closed surface phi E is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times Q in. So here this Q in stands for the only the charge present inside the closed surface but not the outside the surface. Okay? While applying this equation, consider only the charges present inside the closed surface, but don't consider the charges present outside the closed surface. And mathematically we can also write it as, so the closed surface integral E bar dot ds bar is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times Q E. This is the Gauss law of electrostatics. Now come to the Maxwell's second equation, that is the Gauss law of magnetism. Gauss law of magnetism. So in the magnetism and matter lesson we studied the Gauss law of magnetism. So the Gauss law of magnetism states that the total magnetic flux passing through a closed surface is always equal to 0. Is always equal to 0, and mathematically we can write it as the magnetic flux phi B through a closed surface is equal to 0, or we can write it as, so the closed surface integral B bar dot ds bar is equal to 0. See, in case of the electric flux, that electric flux phi E is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times Q in, whereas in case of the magnetic flux this is equal to 0. Well, what is the difference? Why? Because in case of the electrostatics, the mono charges will be present. That means the positive charges or the negative charges can be available separately. Whereas in case of the magnetism, monopoles cannot be exist. That means if there is north pole, there must be south pole. If there is south pole, there must be north pole. So that the poles are always existing in pairs. That's why if suppose we consider a magnetic pole such that let it be the north pole, let it be the south pole. We know that the magnetic lines of force are coming out of the north pole like this, whereas the magnetic lines of force are entering into the south pole like this. That means the number of the lines of force coming out of the north pole is always equal to the number of the lines of force coming out of the south, entering into the south pole. That's why the total number of the lines coming out is equal to the total number of the lines entering into the surface, so that the total magnetic flux linked with the closed surface is equal to 0 in case of the magnetism. Okay. Now come to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. The changing magnetic flux induces EMF, and the EMF is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux. The EMF is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux. Mathematically we can write it as E is equal to minus d phi b divided by dt. Here what is this E? E is nothing but the EMF. Already we know that the EMF or the potential difference between the two plates is equal to E bar dot dl bar. The potential difference between the two plates is equal to E bar dot dl bar. That's why whenever there is EMF, there is electric field. That's why this law can also be stated as the changing magnetic field. The change in the magnetic field induces an electric current. The change in the magnetic field induces an electrical current, which is mathematically given as, so the closed path integral E bar dot dl bar is equal to minus d phi b divided by dt. So this is about the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, which is the Maxwell's third equation. The Maxwell's fourth equation is the Ampere-Maxwell law. Ampere-Maxwell law. According to the Ampere-Maxwell law, the line integral of the magnetic field induction around a closed path is equal to mu naught times the net current passing through the closed surface. According to the Ampere, that current is nothing but the circuital current, whereas that law is modified by the Maxwell, and according to the Ampere-Maxwell, the total current is nothing but the circuital current and the displacement current. That's why the line integral of the magnetic field induction around a closed path is equal to mu naught times the net current, which is nothing but the sum of the circuital current and the displacement current passing through the closed path, and mathematically it is given by closed path integral b bar dot dl bar is equal to mu naught times IC plus ID. By substituting ID value, we have the closed path integral b bar dot dl bar is equal to mu naught times IC plus epsilon naught d phi e divided by dt. Okay, so one is the Gauss law of electrostatics, the second one is the Gauss law of magnetism, the third one is the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and the fourth one is the Ampere-Maxwell law. Now these four laws together are called as the Maxwell equations. Okay, so just list out the Maxwell equations. The first one is the Gauss law of electrostatics, the second one is the Gauss law of magnetism. These two are taken for the closed surfaces. The third one is the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and the fourth one is the Ampere-Maxwell law, in which we are taking the integration over the closed path. Okay, so these four equations are called as the Maxwell's equations. Now, what is the importance of the Maxwell equations? From these Maxwell equations, what Maxwell predicted? For that, here the most important prediction using the Maxwell equations are the existence of the electromagnetic wave. That means the time varying electric field produces magnetic field, and the time varying magnetic field produces electric field. Now, these two are regenerating one another and they are radiating in the form of the electromagnetic wave. That's why the existence of the electromagnetic waves are predicted by the scientist Maxwell by using the Maxwell's equations. And he also showed that the velocity of the electromagnetic waves is equal to the velocity of the light. From this, he concluded that light is the electromagnetic wave. Okay? So the light waves are the electromagnetic waves. These are the predictions made by the scientist Maxwell from the Maxwell equations. Right? Now, I think you understand the concepts explained by me regarding to the displacement current and the Maxwell equations. So in the next session, we will meet again with another topic. Thank you one and all.